Tired of wiping on the same boss for hours?
Die, insect.
Can't seem to win against that new druid deck?
My thanks to you.
Are your teammates not standing on the payload?
Quit lollygagging. Get on the payload.
Well, grab a drink and pull up a chair. This is the Game Case Show, your Blizzard Entertainment podcast. Here are your hosts, Cuddles and Turarts.
Well, hello, hi, howdy, and welcome to episode 81 of The Game Case. I am Chris, also known as Cuddles, a Brewmaster Monk on Airy Peak in the Convert to Raid Guild.
And I'm Turt, a Beast Mastery Hunter, also in the Convert to Raid Guild on Airy Peak server.
This week, we're going to talk a little bit about our week in gaming, answer some questions from the Cuddle crew, and then we're going to be talking to somebody that I consider a friend, I consider a mentor. He has one of the deepest, darkest, blackest voids surrounding him from where he does the things that he does. He may have stepped slightly away from the podcasting realm, but we still love him. Mick Montgomery, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for both of you for extending an invitation to have me on the show. I was excited to come on. I know this is you're right around your 2-year anniversary, right? Is that the deal? So I was excited to come on and help celebrate.
It's been amazing. Yeah, we're celebrating tonight. Cuddles has been streaming for mostly 2 years. We took a little bit of breaks in there, which is why we're only on episode 81. But this is kind of our yay, Cuddles! Congratulations, you're on year 2. And then Mick, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come visit us tonight. How has your week of life been?
Good. I have to be honest. I've played almost no Blizzard games at all in the past week. So, as you can guess, I spent most of my time playing something else. But yeah, my week has been good. I played a lot of games with friends this week, which is always a good thing. So, I had good two or three nights of gaming with friends, which is I think the best type of gaming is gaming with friends. So,
agreed.
T, what about you? What you been doing with gaming?
Gaming this week, let's see, what did we do? We did a little bit more of the heroes. I'm just a few matches away from getting my mount, so we'll have that done by the 13th. And then the 4-year-old is addicted to Minecraft, but is terrible at it. He just does not get it. He destroys everything, and then I have to rebuild it. So I spend my life basically rebuilding things that he destroys. So that was the week with gaming with the little one. And then I finally got Suramar checked off in the Warcraft world. So see you later, Good Samaritan, out of there. Don't have to deal with that anymore. So thank God. But otherwise, yeah, just lots of with the little one doing Minecraft. He's addicted, but he just can't get it yet. He just no.
Aww. I've been wondering because Cuddle Kid is 5, about to be 6, and I don't know what the right age is for the Minecrafting. But
we do the creative mode, so they can't die. So if he wants to swim underwater and stay underwater for whatever his time of allotted play is that night, he can stay underwater and swim with the squids. The bad guys just stand there, and if he wants to beat on them, great. And if he wants to just kind of run around in circles, awesome. So that's what we do, and it's the Xbox, so he can't quite get the this moves this way and this moves the camera. So it's dexterity for him, and he's learning some things. I tell myself is how I justify letting him play. So we'll see.
That's the one thing I think any gamer parent tries to use to dexterity of fingers, finger strength making happening. Yeah, hand-eye coordination. That'll translate to baseball and yes. Flying a jet and being president of the United States eventually. That's where it gets to. That's the
nice thing I will tell you about Minecraft is it has animals, although he's learned that he can kill the animals. So now we're working on that. But anyway, it has animals. So he'll be like cow moo, horse neigh, or there's different colored blocks. So he'll go through the colors of the blocks. So I tell myself again, he's learning something.
He's learning differentiations of shading, which will be very helpful
Light
later in
blue,
life.
dark blue. It's okay. Oh well.
Oh, that's beautiful. So I did. I've had a great week. Like I've been playing a lot of Elite Dangerous outside of Blizzard. I'm going to be this upcoming weekend. I'll be streaming from the Frontier Development booth at PAX East. Super excited for that. If anybody is interested in watching that, sorry, shameless self promo. 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern, both Saturday and Sunday. I'm really, really pumped. It's going to be my first time streaming from a con floor. And outside of Elite, I finished up Resident Evil 7. Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Go play it. Shout out to Totally Drunk for gifting me that game. Love you. You're awesome. And got in a little bit of Hearthstone, a lot of heroes. Grinding out that WoW mount. Gotta get that thing. And yeah, that was pretty much my week in gaming. It's really just been starting to stress out and starting to, freak out about traveling to Boston in, oh my gosh, like 4 days. And I believe the high temperature the day I arrive is going to be 42 degrees. And before the people in the chat room that are from Michigan, I'm looking at you, Bordardo. Before you happen to mention that 42 degrees is like shorts and hoodie weather, it was like 82 here like last week. It was 74 today and windy, and I was in a hoodie and freezing. I don't know what I'm going to. I might die. I might. If
You will.
Don't hear another
You're not going
episode.
to. You're going to die.
Yeah,
You're going to go up there. You're going to freeze into a solid, and then someone's going to flick you, and you're going to shatter into a million pieces, and that's just going to be the end of it.
This is what I imagine.
You won't survive this trip. You won't survive it.
It's possible that I might. I don't think my winter sandals are going to hold up, so I may actually have to purchase shoes.
You're not going to wear that travel kilt. That's for darn sure. You're going to freeze off your dingly danglies, and then you're going to come home, and your wife's going to be upset about that.
She would be very upset if that happened to disappear.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but it's like I have no idea what I'm going to do to deal with this weather. I'm going to be very cold. That's the answer.
You're going to have to be the guy who wears flannel like leggings under the kilt. You're going to have to be that guy.
Please do that, please.
Flannel leggings under a kilt. Okay, we can make this.
Oh,
happen.
you know what you should do? You should get some of those. See if you can find, or someone figure out if he can find this for him. I don't know. You know the leggings that all the ladies like to buy at BlizzCon that have all the Blizzard stuff on them? Like, you need to find a pair of like gamer leggings that will fit a dude and wear those under the kilt.
So, not that I've ever looked before, ever in my life. But
that's what happens when I come on shows, Chris, is awkward truths start tumbling out of people's mouths.
There may be a website called meggingsman.com.
Oh, God.
Oh, Lord.
That
I gotta...
sells male leggings specifically.
For the love of God.
I don't know what their shipping policy is like, so I don't know if I can get something before I go. But this is actually a glorious idea. I may have to. I may have to see. I have a good buddy that wears leggings. HP Braincase, that's a Twitch streamer, wears these space leggings, and I don't want to. I guess if I do it under a kilt, maybe I can get away with it and not totally rip his thing off. Oh, they have metallic gunmetal leggings.
I just saw those. Oh my God.
Of course, this seems like. Of course, it would. I think they have marijuana leaf male leggings. Like that's the number one buy. Number two is my work with your kilt is as a plaid patch leggings. Which would perhaps go with the tartan. Why is this a thing?
This is a rabbit hole. Like
now everyone listening to the show in the chat and Mick himself, congratulations. This is now in your Google search history.
You should reach out to Meggings and find out meggingsman.com and find out if they'll sponsor your show.
Can we do that? I would be okay with it.
Oh, the Jupiter Meggings. You got to get those. You have space on your crotch. That's what you want. You want a skyscape of Jupiter on your buns as you're walking around.
It's very much more impressive than what's already there. And moving on from that one, guys, we do have some questions from the Cuddle Crew this week. If you would like to if you would like to ask some questions of our esteemed guests that we bring on each and every week, guys, it's simple, easy to do. You're going to go to bit.ly/Cuddles Discord. There is a text channel called Questions for the Show. Put your questions for the show in the questions. Anyway, you can figure that one out. Guys, our very first question, actually all of our questions this week come from the wonderful, the incredible Alessander. If you listen to podcasts, you've probably heard of Alessander. I think she listens to all of them. Like, not just the Blizzard ones, all of the podcasts. Like, I think she downloads iTunes and just all of them. So our first question, I'll let you go ahead and read it, T.
Yeah, and a lot of them are pretty much just similar. Make people want to know, how have you been? So since you've left kind of Blizzard podcasting, how's life treating you? How's Riot? And is it everything you kind of hoped it would be?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Since I left podcasting for Blizzard, well, podcasting just as a whole, I think it's been a really good transition. I know that there's a good and a bad, right? So the good is I work for a company, obviously, that's making video games, which is always great. I get to do what I was doing before when I was working or in the entertainment industry in Hollywood. I get to transfer those skill sets over to what I do at Riot. So I work with essentially all the video teams at Riot Games, helping folks basically make videos. That's what my role is at Riot. So if you're at Riot and you have a particular project or product that's coming out and you think that video is going to be a part of that in some way, shape, or form, my team specifically, or my larger team more broadly, will help with that process. So a lot of the things that you see released are things that my team has worked on, which is always really exciting to be a part of the process. And I've been there now long enough where I can say things that I saw when I showed up on day one, like, are now coming out and are getting out to players, and we're seeing reactions to that stuff. So that's always kind of fun and interesting. So in that respect, it's been really great. Riot obviously has a reputation for being an awesome place to work, and it has definitely lived up to that reputation, at least in my experience. And on top of that, it's been great to meet some new people and to get involved in a new community of gamers, obviously. So that's been super fun. The bad part is I don't get to do the podcasting, at least for video games, for Blizzard, which is where probably my biggest shows were, Stormcast and the Starting Zone. So, but I just recently started cracking back into podcasting for my Walking Dead show. So I'm back doing Dead Fans Talking again as of 2 weeks ago. So I've picked up the reins and started again. So if you want to hear my voice talk about The Walking Dead, you can go to deadfanstalking.com and get all the details there. So I'm back. So long story short, good. Some pluses and some minuses. I do miss the community desperately. I do try and stay in touch with people through Twitter. I do get emails from folks from time to time. And, I'm still in and around, just obviously not doing shows anymore.
Very nice. It's glad to know you're back doing podcasting. I say that's awesome, especially The Walking Dead, because I think everyone watches that. And we have basically some more kind of questions about Riot. How's it going? You guys got Company of the Year in 2016, so congratulations on that, of course. But is there anything good in the cafeteria, or do you food truck it?
Well, you have the option to do both if you want to.
Done.
So we have, of course, we have food trucks. Where we're situated in Los Angeles is also where a number of other media companies are based. So that makes it an attractive spot for food trucks to park. So the Philly cheese truck steak comes by, and the lobster roll truck comes by, and the boba truck stops by on a regular basis, and the sushi burrito truck comes by fairly often. So those have become mainstays. But our cafeteria does a fantastic job, or as we like to call it, our noms department does a really good job of putting out the spread. So it's hard to not go across the street and get a nice lunch. So they've been doing a really good job. They make a triple chocolate cookie that is super hard to pass by. The other day they made beignets. That was a big celebration. I was like, what did they make at the dessert? It was beignets. They made mini beignets, and everyone
just dessert.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone just lost their shit. Just like, oh God, there's beignets in the caf.
With the powdered sugar. Oh.
Yeah, that was the whole thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been good. It's been a lot of fun, and Noms takes care of us for sure.
Right
Now
on.
I'm hungry.
No, we have. I know, right? I'm sitting here. I'm literally sitting here having a foodgasm. It's incredible. Like all the things that you. That's why I want to. Like, would anyone ever want to live in LA? Because that's why people
Yeah.
want to live in LA. People. That's the true story. Incredible food and great people.
Well, and that's been the fun thing too of working there is, friends who I've had podcasts, for example, or podcasts with. If they come into LA, Riot is a 10-minute Uber from the airport. So I've had friends, flying to LA, and before they head to their hotel or they head to where they're going, or some folks, in case we had BlizzCon in 2016, some folks came by and stopped by for lunch, and I took them on a tour. And so that's been kind of cool to just show folks the campus and treat people to lunch on Riot and just have an opportunity to kind of show folks what we're trying to do over on that campus. So that's been cool as well.
That's awesome. The next question we have, and you've kind of answered this a little bit, is any good stories from the Riot Rumble? So anything kind of going on that you can talk about?
I think we released a documentary about the Riot Rumble not too long ago. I haven't played in it yet because it will fire up soon. I think signups for it for this year. But yeah, there's tons of good stories. I mean, I think the biggest story that people may know about if they're hardcore Riot fans is the rivalry we have between our esports team and our finance department, which if you think like long and short, if you were to look from the outside of Riot, you'd be like, I bet, yes, the esports team would field an awesome internal League of Legends team for the Riot Rumble. For people who don't know, the Riot Rumble is our internal tournament that we have for League of Legends. So yes, esports obviously there. They have, I think, actually they put out an awesome team that knows their stuff. But the finance team is not going to be overlooked, nor will they be denied their recognition. And they are very tenacious and angry and fervent players, and that is something that I was shocked at about our finance team, was just how bloodthirsty they are on Summoner's Rift. So that's kind of the legendary matchup that's been the case for a number of years now. Are those two teams? It's always an event on campus when those two teams are going to throw down, whether it's in the finals or whether it's in the course of the tournament. That's like the matchup that everyone comes to watch.
That is awesome. I love that the finance team is so aggressive. It makes sense though, because they're stuck like doing numbers, so they're like let loose and bam.
No, they are particular. They are focused. They are detail oriented. And what's interesting is I didn't obviously know this when I joined, but I think it was a month or so after I'd been there. They went head to head, and it was such a big deal. We have a big area where our cafeteria is at, where we can hold about 700, 800 people in that area. And we have these big LED monitors up on the wall. And so they went to head in the Nexus, and it was packed to capacity of people there to watch them throw down. So it's always been a big deal. We have our own, we have Riot, we have casters that come in and do casting for it. On the big screen. So we take it pretty seriously. We go overboard. We got 4 camera setups sometimes. There are times I go in there and I go, what do we do with the off? All right. Of course it makes sense. We would put this much work into something no one can see but us. But it is a testament to how deep the competitive gaming edge runs within our culture there. And they definitely, when they play, it's a big deal and it's a big event. And I remember kind of walking by, and somebody in my orientation class said, "Are you going? It's finance versus esports." And I went, "What is that?" And they just kind of grabbed my hand and walked me over, and I watched the matchup. So
very nice. Alessandra asks, do they stream this, or is it just purely internal for the Rumble?
It's purely internal. It's something we talk about. This year we released a documentary. I think it was either at YouTube.com/Riot Games, or it's at YouTube.com/League of Legends. So if you look up Riot Rumble, I think there's a documentary out about it. So So I think that's how a lot of folks have found out about it, or just through the legends of folks. Patrick Scarborough, before he left Riot, used to talk about how he was so enthusiastic about the fact that he had coached a number of teams that had made it to the semifinals or to the finals in the Riot Rumble. So, I don't know if we'll ever stream it, and it's not my call, obviously, to make, but it is a hell of a lot of fun. And we have different tiers, too, of the Rumble. So we've got because not everybody who works at Riot is a plat, or diamond player. So we have different levels of the Rumble that folks play in as well. So it's a lot of fun, and it's just a good exercise for also writers just to come together and get to know each other and play on teams, and it's a lot of fun. So
nice. Well, thanks for the insights into the Riot Rumble. That's something that I've even not being entirely obviously Blizzard guy, not entirely like that's something that like any gamer has heard whispers and tales, and it's something that is definitely legendary. That's really cool.
Yeah. And I think it's not uncommon. I mean, you would be shocked to find out that people who work at a video game company play video games passionately. Like we're not the exception to the rule. I mean, Blizzard. I remember talking to one of the developers for the Heroes of the Storm when I was doing Stormcast, and I was like, "What's a day look like for you?" He's like, "Well, get into the office, play Heroes for a couple hours, then there's a meeting, then we go to lunch." And I'm like, "Stop right there. This sounds wonderful." So it's not uncommon that we get invested in our own games, and I think if we're not passionate, I think as folks who work on video games, whether you're like me who makes media content, whether you're actual game designer, whether you're the HR people in our talent team, if you're not passionate about video games, and especially the games that your company is making, then I don't think you can expect players to be passionate as well. And I think that's what the studios that I think have found success because they're as passionate about the games that they make as the players are about playing them. So
nice. So guys, why don't we go ahead and jump into the meat and potatoes of the show? Mick, for those that have been living under a rock for the last 12, 15 years, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
About me? Okay. I started making content online in 2009. That's when I got my start. I had been working in, like I said, in the entertainment industry in Los Angeles since about 2001. And I have been working in the entertainment industry. I was an actor, I was a writer, I was a director, and I was doing that kind of stuff. And I was also working, in production and post-production services. And I wanted to do something different. And at that time, YouTube was starting to become a thing. Podcasts were just kind of starting to become something. And I thought, this is something I feel like I could do, and I don't have to go through all these big barriers that I have to go through in Hollywood to make something. I could actually just do it myself. I could release it to the public. And so I became really interested in making internet content, as I used to call it back then. Internet content. And I started full bore. I made a web series. I wrote and directed a web series, and then got into podcasting. And my first podcast experience was doing a World of Warcraft podcast called The Starting Zone, which I fired up with my friend Jesse Kobayashi in 2009. I had just started playing World of Warcraft, so I didn't really know that much about WoW, and nor did I know that much about podcasting. And we just kind of chugged along for a while. And then I got to about 2013, which sounds weird, but about 5 years, about a little less than 4 years into it, I kind of turned to Jesse and I said, we've kind of been doing this every other week, and sometimes we do it once a month, but I think we should really focus on this, see if we can make this into something. And that progression led me to growth for the Starting Zone to become a bigger show than it was. And then I opened up Spazbot Studios, which was a media company, and that media company started doing Stormcast, which was a Heroes of the Storm podcast, Dead Fans Talking, and then Super Heroic, which is a show about comic book television shows and movies. So we started to really kind of grow and to get a lot more people involved. And Chris came on the Starting Zone, I think, in 2015. After Jesse had left, we kind of brought in a bunch of people to help co-host that show. And that's how I got to know Chris a little bit. And continued to keep building the Starting Zone. And then I jumped into Convert to Raid as a host for a little while and did that show with Pat Crane and those guys. And so that's kind of been my roller coaster of making podcasts and podcast content for a while. And then obviously throughout that growth point, it became more than just podcasting like we're doing here tonight. It also became about streaming video as well. So as that part also became a part of what we were doing at Spazbot was trying to keep a stream and to do different events and special events and just stream gameplay. That also got worked into the equation as well. And I think at the end of the day, that was the thing in the component when I applied at Riot. They were like, this guy should come work here because he knows exactly what we're trying to do. And that is what ultimately I think pushed me over the edge to be able to take the role I did at Riot, was the fact that I had done all this work at Spazbot, and that was reflective of just, my general interest in passion for gamers and the gaming community. And that is what I think has always continued to make me interested and to continue to participate, is the fact that there's this great community of players that has its ups and downs, obviously, but more ups than downs. And so I became really passionate about this community and the players. And, that's why we kept the shows going after I had to step away. So the Starting Zone still happens today on a weekly basis. And we did shut down Stormcast, which I know a lot of folks were upset about. But, Starting Zone still keeps going, is trucking and doing some stuff. So I think that's reflective of the fact that I think there's still a really passionate audience out there, and we wouldn't want the Starting Zone audience to go away because Spencer and Jason were willing to pick up the reins and keep moving ahead. Stormcast we couldn't do the same thing with because Dills and Notch just felt without me it wasn't worth doing anymore. So that's why that show went away.
Well, nice. I want to pick on something you said. You had Cuddles on the Starting Zone, you said, a year and a half ago or so, when Chris first started off doing this podcast. And I don't know if you know this, and Cuddles can correct me if I'm wrong, but just from him talking about you, you were a pivotal part in keeping this podcast going, because it used to just be Chris kind of talking into Mike by himself, and then you were like, hey, dude, you can't do that anymore. So you've kind of watched him grow. And one thing he's taken from you is this little phrase in our show notes called small rejoins. And whenever we have a guest that comes on, they ask what that is. And Chris just goes, I don't know, ask Mick. So we have you on. We have to ask, what is small rejoins?
I don't know. I don't even know what that is. I saw it on the notes and I'm like, what is that?
This was in
I don't know what that
Zone
is.
Notes.
And
The first
Yes,
time
it
that I
is.
was ever, I feel like it was. I'm looking at my Google Docs right now.
Well, here's the
man.
important thing. Like, what did you interpret it as meaning?
Like,
Because I'm more than willing to give like context, but I have a feeling like you've based something on a typo.
have I?
in the show notes.
Did I entirely like? I
maybe it's supposed to
probably
be like
typoed it.
rejoice. Like I always thought like small rejoice, like, hey, I'm happy to be here.
Oh, that
No?
was no. None of that was a thing that I think I was even Googling it today. Like I'm like, is this an Urban Dictionary thing? Like, what is this? And I
Oh.
couldn't find anything. But
I swear I
that's
saw this in
Oh my
your
God.
show notes. I swear, I've been blaming you for this
Yeah.
the
it's not
entirety
something
of my
you
show.
can blame. You can keep blaming me for all you keep doing it. I don't know what it is.
Oh Lord, I was really expecting some answers. Wow, Cuddles.
We were gonna get into the depths, and now I've been exposed.
Oh
All
man.
joins. I don't know. Maybe what is
Well,
it? Now I have to kill my meggingsmen.com to see if small
Trying to figure
rejoins
out
is
what small
like a
rejoins are.
technical term for broadcast speak and script writing, but it's not. Google says no.
Spencer
It's
says
so
he can
not.
confirm it isn't in any show notes that he can find. Oh Lord. Well,
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Evidently, I made this up, guys. I have to
May have.
apologize. Sometimes I drink, and I may have just made this up.
Oh.
I could have sworn that this was because when I first created my show notes, I copied and pasted yours and then made them mine. That's literally how I first created show notes. I was like, how am I going to make show notes? And then I was able to guest on the starting zone, and I was like, oh, crap. These are awesome. And
well, that is something that I know I advocate is just have show notes in general when you're doing a podcast, because otherwise you have a tendency to sprawl and get off tangent, and then you have this kind of 3-hour show that is about nothing. So, yeah, I mean, I've always been a big advocate of show notes. For sure.
Oh, it's so not small rejoins.
Is it small rejoiced?
No. Small ensue. Small ensues.
Small talk ensues. Small talk ensues, yes.
Small ensues. This is the actual.
Yes, that is something that we often put when we would go, hi, I'm Mick. Hi, and this is my co-host, and here's our other guest. And then we would type in, and small talk ensues, which is, how are you? Hope things are well. Did a tree fall on your house? No, that's good. Okay, let's do the show now. Like, that was kind of always what that meant.
Okay, well, I'm keeping
or call it
rejoins.
small rejoins. Call it whatever you want. It's
I made this turn up. Like I've entirely made this up. I apologize. I'd like to publicly apologize to Mick Montgomery and the entire Mick Montgomery Media Collective for perjuring his name.
I guess how much I care.
Libeling?
No, I don't even know.
Slander? I don't know.
Slander? Would that be?
How about happy accident? That's fine.
Happy accident.
I actually love that every guest now comments on small rejoins and has no idea what it means. Like, oh, it's a technical podcasting term.
Oh, yeah, it's very technical podcasting term. You don't know what small rejoins are? My God. I mean, How long have you been doing this? Please read a book. Sure, there's an ebook. I wrote the ebook. It costs you 99 cents on Amazon. You go get it right now. You will learn all about small rejoins.
This is a glorious idea. Podcasting and small rejoins, an ebook by Cuddles. 99 cents on Amazon.
I thoroughly thought when I read this in the notes, it was a trick question. Like, I don't know. Did I say something, or was there a bit I did one time? And now I can't remember it because I'm rapidly aging. So what is? Well, I don't know what that is.
Oh.
So go ahead. Go ahead, dude.
I was expecting some big reveal, but I'm okay with this. We'll just make it ours and still blame Mick.
Are you disappointed too, Arch, that the big reveal is it was a mistake?
I was expecting some like inside, like, oh, you did this to mess with guests, because I don't know. I was expecting something, but I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I'm okay. Cuddles.
Worldview changed. Paradigm shift.
It is a paradigm shift. It is.
Yep.
So one of the things that I did want to talk to you about is obviously League of Legends and the community around it.
Sure.
I will say, having never played it, I had somewhat of a negative connotation with League. And I went. It was probably about 3 weeks ago. I played the game for probably about 4 or 5 hours. Absolutely fell in love with it. Everyone was nice. There was definitely things like everybody's calling out top and mid and bottom, and I kind of knew that from previous game experience. But every time I had a question, it was quickly answered. People were very nice, very polite. No one was ever rude. I would say it's a very much, in my experience, a very much less toxic environment than other MOBAs that I played. And can you talk a little bit about the League community and what's going on there right now? Sure.
Well, we find ourselves in a really interesting situation right now with League of Legends in that we have a very it's a very publicly well-known, very large player base. And we are always humbled and grateful by the fact that we have so many folks that enjoy this game this much. And we also see it's a tremendous responsibility to try and continue to make the game interesting, trying to make sure that we're satisfying the desire for more content about Runeterra outside of just the game itself. So we're constantly battling to try and provide a great experience for players. And part of that is obviously how players treat each other and interact. I think that the toxicity as a thing is something that we were very public about acknowledging and saying, I mean, it was obviously before my time, but it was definitely something that Riot had acknowledged and said, we're very aware of the toxicity, and we tried a number of different systems, and we really kind of bore down and said, how do we make this better for people? How do we encourage other players to celebrate each other? How do we do that? And also knowing and understanding that when you have a competitive game that is as at times punishing as League can be from just the competition standpoint, that people are going to get frustrated and they're going to get upset and they're going to get angry. We know that that's always going to be something that happens with players. We also know that that's something that is always going to happen in any game that has that expectation on players, right? Whether it's Counter-Strike or CSGO, Overwatch, Heroes of the Storm, Hearthstone, a number of different competitive games, Dota 2. A number of these competitive games are just going to always have that atmosphere that's going to be a part of it. But how do we make it better? How do we reduce it? How do we put checks and balances in it without trying to get too deep into the weeds on how the technical aspects of how we now accomplish that? I think what I would say is the results of that work started to turn the community a little bit better. When I started playing League in season 3, and it was very, at that time, all the things that people talk about and still talk about to this day, those were all there and evident, right? Like logging in, kicking off games, people calling each other racial epithets, questioning people's sexuality, like all that stuff that's really negative and awful, right? Like that was definitely a part of season 3 of League of Legends. So now I think the experience is a lot different. I think that we've done a really good job of kind of hammering down, at least on how people talk to one another. I think that there's still salt, and that's always going to be a part, like I said, of competitive gaming. But we bore down hard. And I also think that the community also became very conscious of the reputation as well. And I think that there is that part of it. There is that trollness. There is always that dank meme component. There's always that Reddit meme component that's always going to be a part of what we do and of the League of Legends community. But there's also this idea of promoting others, super positive content creators, and promoting the really great folks that are on our Reddit, that are kind of helping each other out, providing information, trying to make players better. I mean, there's podcasts out there, obviously, like all the ones that Trinity Force does, that are actively trying to celebrate what it takes to become a better player, what it means to do that well. And so we're trying to also focus on the positive and bring that as much to the forefront as we can. That's why the honor system's now in place. That kind of stuff has allowed you to kind of look at your fellow players, if you're so inclined, and say, I want to give this person kudos because of their teamwork or because they were helpful or whatever it is. You can do that in the game system at the end of a game, and that kind of helps continue, I think, to foster that level of encouragement for positive behavior. And we can take more steps too to make that a better experience, and I think we will. But yeah, it's definitely something that I think all gaming companies try to be conscious of. For folks that listen to this show, Blizzard, I think, is also conscious of it. In 2015, when Mike Morhaime walks out on stage, kind of post Gamergate, and was like, "This sucked, and we don't want to support that as Blizzard, and we want to be different, and we want our players to be different." Blizzard, I think, has that same level of consciousness around the issue as well. We can't make it go away because we can't referee, obviously, everything that everyone does, but we can give the community tools to try and celebrate positive players, and then also to flat out report players for doing things that aren't appropriate. And that stuff gets taken very seriously. Like, I've sat in player support. I've done tickets. I've taken questions from players who've gotten banned and said, like, why did I get banned? And I've looked at their chat logs. I'm like, because you're super salty, bro, and it sucks. So stop. So that is a part of our player experience as well that we take very seriously. We try to be as honest and as fair as we can with players about that component as well. But it is something that we're actively always working on, and it's always at the forefront of what we're doing as it relates to how players treat each other.
So that's awesome. I know my brother actually plays League of Legends, and one thing he loves is that as a casual player, him and his buddies who are now all over the States can get on, play a couple games, and they still get that sense of community, even if they have like some pugs, for lack of a better term, in there with them. You guys have such a loyal, amazing community, and watching him play it, you can see that in the chat and in that honor system you talked about. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I think that too, like that factor is the same factor that, Blizzard fans experience too, in like World of Warcraft. I think that is something that I always experienced kind of coming up as a gamer playing WoW, was this ability to connect with people all over the United States and sometimes across the globe. Like I had friends that played in Australia and in Europe. And so that stuff is, I think, what makes it really super cool. And it's one of the things that we've seen is, players will start playing like in college or in high school, and then they, friends move out of town and out of state, but they can continue to keep those friendships rich and alive because they play League of Legends together every Tuesday night or every Thursday night. And that's no different from friends getting together for raid night. In World of Warcraft, it's no different than people playing Heroes on a regular basis. Having that night where you get together with your friends and play games is what we want to continue to create and support. And on top of that, I got to see this firsthand, right? Like this year, I got a call from a friend of mine who's working on Pacific Rim 2. And he's like, hey, a buddy of mine on the movie has had some really tough times. I know Worlds is happening in Los Angeles this year. He's going to be in LA during that time. Is there any way you can hook him up? And I said, give him a call. And I talked to this guy. He's in his 50s. He loves video games. This is how he's able to connect with his kids. He's got one kid going to college in Notre Dame. Another kid, is in high school still in Arizona, desperately wants to be like, a pro player. Jim's, like I said, in his 50s, and they get together and they play a League of Legends together. And that's how they stay together as a family. That's how he connects with his boys. And he's like, can you do me? And so I was like, it was like the twilight hour. I'm like, dude, Worlds is on Saturday. It's Thursday. What can I possibly do? But I was able, through Rioters and Slack and all that kind of stuff, I was able to score their family, 3 tickets to Worlds at LAX and then go with them to watch the match. And I got them to sit, right behind SKT during the finals. They could see Faker and the team like talking between matches. They had these great seats. And that's the experience that we're constantly trying to create, is like celebrating that. And it was a huge pain in the butt for me to go through all that work, but it was so worth it to see the look on their faces, in and during and after Worlds. They were just like, to bring a family across the country, really across the world, because he had been working in Australia at the time, to bring people across the world together to do something like that's the ultimate embodiment of what we do as I think as gaming studios, is we ultimately build communities. And that's what we do on these shows too about games. We build these communities. You have people in the chat room here tonight who are here to support what you guys are doing, and that's a part of that same energy as well.
Nice. Let's see. I did have another question for you here with your history in podcasting. Obviously, you've been doing it for quite a while now. There are so many people who want to take that step and maybe start podcasting or streaming. What would be kind of your elevator pitch for them on getting started on this journey?
Okay. What would be my elevator pitch? My elevator pitch would be focus on making a great show, focus on doing it on a regular basis, focus on that first. Nothing else besides that matters. That's plain and simple. So if someone came to me and said, I'm thinking about podcasting, what do you expect me to do? I'd say, make a great show. Like, find a way for that show to be unique, find a way for it to stand out within your community that you're trying to service, whether you're talking about video games, whether you're talking about, woodworking, whatever it happens to be that you're going to talk about. Like, find a way to stand out and be unique, and then get in the habit of delivering content, at least on, whatever it picks. If you could do it once a month, if you could do it every 2 weeks, if you could do it every week, do it, but be consistent and do it and continue to keep doing it for a long time, and give yourself, 10 or 15 shows to figure it out. And that's it. Like, don't worry about the microphone. Don't worry about the hosting stuff in terms of the specifics about that stuff. Like, you will learn all that stuff as you go. But if you don't have a good show that people don't want to listen to, and you can't do it on a regular basis, even if it's a mediocre show, like, people will listen to a mediocre show if it comes out every Wednesday and they can count on it, But if you can't, if you focus on making a great show with interesting content, having chemistry with the people that you work with on the show, and you can get that thing out on a regular basis, then I think that's how you're going to grow and build an audience, and everything else is going to fall into place afterwards. I think what happens is podcasting is just hard enough for people to get lost on all the technical specifics of it, and streaming is just hard enough for people to get lost on all the technical specifics of it. that they can get caught up on stupid stuff that doesn't matter. Like, well, my microphone, or, what streaming software should I use? Or like all that stuff doesn't matter. Like if you're not interesting to listen to or watch, doesn't matter if you have the best, you can get a $20,000 podcasting rig if you want to, and streaming rig, and dump all this money into it. If you're not interesting to watch or listen to, then people aren't going to watch or listen. So focus on being good and being consistent. And that's what I would say is the most important thing.
Wow.
All right.
Wonderful advice. Pete?
I was going to say, to piggyback off of that, like you said, reliability and just being your awesome self. There are so many great community members here with us tonight and in the community that will take time to answer your questions. Like Pat Crane's coming out with this like podcast launchpad thing that he's going to do, a book and stuff. You will get those questions answered. But if you can do it, like Mick said, consistently and just be amazing, people will feed off of your passion. They will.
And one more thing that I want to point out, if you're passionate about gaming, take that same thing that makes you good at video games and apply it to podcasting and streaming as well, right? Like, what makes a great raider a raider? Like the ability to be like focused on like what am I supposed to be doing with my gear? What am I supposed to be doing with my talent prioritization to make myself better, so I can get high on the deeps charts or whatever it happens to be, right? Like you take that same focus and that same energy and you get passionate about it. And you're like, how can I be the best disciplined priest in the world? And so that type of intensity, like if you take that same energy and you apply it to podcasting, you will find that it is or streaming, you will find that it offers infinite ideas and thoughts and questions for you to ask and answer for yourself within that. So take that thing that makes you awesome as a gamer and apply it to your podcasting, your streaming, and you will be a good podcaster and a good streamer. It's one of the reasons why at Riot we focus so hard in the interview process of hiring people. Like, are you a gamer? No, seriously, are you a real gamer? Not like, hey, I did Farmville once. Like, no, really, what? Tell me about your gaming experience. Like, so you can see, like, what do gamers do well? They problem solve. They come up with solutions. Yep. They figure things out. And if you have that as an innate part of your being, and then you can make good on the microphone and you're, semi-decent on camera, that will translate over to your show. So, like, trust that part of yourself as a gamer that makes you a good gamer, makes you a committed gamer, and apply that to the stuff that you do. And by the way, don't just do that for podcast streaming. Like, in your job, like, if you're not happy with your job, take that gamer magic and shove that in there, and boom, it'll turn you around and you'll start to be satisfied professionally as well. Like, that's all part of it. Like, this stuff that we do, and you guys talked about in the pre-show, like, we're turning our kids into gamers. What is that going to do for them? Like, it's not about hand-eye coordination. It's about learning how to problem solve, stay dedicated, be like, I have died so many times to this thing. And then that one time where you're like, I didn't die this time. Like that energy and that kind of passion is what you want to take and apply it to everything else that you do. It shouldn't just be when you've got a controller in your hands or a keyboard and mouse in front of you. It can apply to everything else you do, and you will find success because of that.
Wow. I'm inspired. We got like a sermon from the Mount from Mick Montgomery. This was glorious. Mick, thank you for that. I think this is going to bring us for like I don't even know what to say after all of that. That was inspiring. This is gonna bring us to a wonderful part of the show where we do some shout outs. Mick, do you have any shout outs? It's been a while since you've shouted out to the gaming community, at least.
I would like to give a shout out to Spencer Downey and to Jason Lucas over at the Starting Zone, startingzone.com. Those are the two guys who are hosting that show right now, and they're doing a really good job on continuing to build that show and take that community in a new and different direction. I really like that they've turned around and become much more focused on helping players, which is great. So shout out to those. And then also to Spencer and also Daryl Goodwin for continuing to keep Super Heroic going, a show that I started over at superheroicshow.com. That's a show about TV shows that are based around comic books and movies that are based around comic books. Those guys have fired that show back up and got it back and going again. And so shout out to those guys for continuing to keep those shows up and alive. If folks haven't had a chance to check those out and you're looking for something to put into your podcast feed, I definitely recommend it. So I'm going to give those folks a shout out.
Woohoo! T, how about you?
Shout out to the Converted, because we're getting ready to come up to episode 100, and I have been kind of teasing a surprise that I'll have for you guys tomorrow, and you all have been awesome at letting me kind of go off and do my own thing for our amazing 100th show. And then shout out to everyone who hung out with us last week for Tea and Cuddles After Dark. We had a lot of fun, just kind of hanging out and playing some games and getting to know our community a little better.
Woo! I will second the Cuddles After Dark stream hype. I think we had a good time.
You kind of passed out a little bit. It's okay.
I did. I fell asleep just a little bit. Although not like I didn't fall asleep on my mind. Like it was okay. We recovered. It's okay. But
Can I just say one of my favorite things? I want this to happen so badly. If someone could do, you know how they have like newscaster bloopers?
Yeah.
For like, I will watch those all day. I can't get enough of newscaster bloopers. I want streamers falling asleep. That's what I want, like clips of that. Everyone I know who's a streamer has fallen asleep on a stream. Chris has done it. Notch has done it. Dills has done it. Dills is great because when he falls asleep, he gets really angry when you call him on it afterwards. Like, dude, you fell asleep. No, I did it, bro. I did not fall asleep. I'm a professional streamer. I did not fall asleep on camera. I'm like, I have a clip of you snoring into the microphone. That's the stuff. I want that so bad. Can somebody work on that? I know there's a lot of people in the chat room who watch streamers. Like, if you can make that happen, I will try and get it put on the League of Legends launcher client. I don't care. Like, somehow I will make that happen.
oh my good Lord.
Oh man, we need this.
So I've fallen asleep on stream 3 times. True confessions time in the middle of my shoutouts. One time from the drink, another time from the drink, and one time because I was exhausted. One of the times that no longer exists unless somebody clipped it. I had the what is it? It's the windscreen, the little foam windscreen on my like you have on your mic right now, Mick. And so I fell asleep, and somebody said it looked like I just had a big red nose. I was using a red one.
Your pop filter had become your clown nose?
Just looking like Elmo. And snored for like 6 hours.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that's me telling. And I am actually on. There is a Twitch Fails YouTube. They don't specialize in streamers falling asleep. But I am part of one of the Twitch Fails compilations because of that. I don't know why I'm talking about this. Okay, so guys, I would like to thank Mick. Mick, thank you so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you guys for having me on the show. It was great, and it's always a lot of fun to chat about the video games. So thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Nice.
I have one more question for Mick. Real quick.
I have one more shout out, and is to everyone that has followed my Twitch stream at all. I know that does not actually mean all of our podcast listeners, but you guys come and check it out. Twitch.tv/thegamecase. It's a thing. Wednesday is going to be my 1 year. This is basically the 2-year anniversary of the podcast. Wednesday is my 1 year anniversary of seriously streaming, and we're gonna do it big. We're gonna have a lot of fun. It should be a really, really good time. T, go ahead with your question for Matt.
I do. So this is our 2 year. Well, yes, this is our 2 year. I can say it now. Our 2 year anniversary of this podcast. When Cuddles first came on, you were kind of giving him a little bit of advice here and there. How far do you think he has come from the beginning, like the journey of Cuddles? What was your opinion when you first kind of watched this podcast? Since this is the 2 year, we're going to reminisce for a second.
There was a noise that happened in my headphone. That's what my brain just went, noise. So I think the thing that Chris always demonstrated and which I think is good is positive energy and a positive vibe. And I oftentimes think that there's a real temptation in content creators, and especially in and around video games, to like create drama, go full salt, like just bleh, and I fervently believe that is like a cheap shortcut to ultimately a burnout situation. That's just my belief. And time again, like I watch streamers like just flame out because they can't maintain that sense of, jackassery for that long. So I think that for me, what Chris has always brought to the table is tremendous sense of energy and positivity. And also too, the willingness to continue to keep going, to keep doing it, and to put himself out there in a way that that is what you always kind of need to have in order, I think, to be any good and to be successful. And I think where Chris, has come or grown is that you start to see him more and more in and around the community. And I think that's always a good sign that you're showing growth and progress, is when you're appearing on other people's shows or people are coming on your show to talk about, what it is that they're doing with their part of their community. Like that is always a sign that you are progressing. I think, this show and the fact that he's added, you to the show, to Arts, and, that is what I call like figuring it out and continuing to keep growing. And that, finding a partner like yourself to help work on the show and to make it better, to make it easier, like that's a sign of understanding what it takes to try and make whatever it is you're doing a little bit better and a little bit more higher quality. So I think what I like about Chris is that he's also always willing to continue to keep learning. Like there's not a stopping point for him. Like, I've mastered this now. F all y'all. Bow before my greatness. There's not that like sense where he's ever going to be done. And I think that's what always makes content creators grow and evolve. And sometimes you stop in a particular medium and you grow to another medium, or you just keep adding in and around the thing that you're already doing. And that's the encouragement I can say to him, is continue to stay positive and continue to keep willing to learn. And the growth is already evident and it's already shown.
Oh, sorry to put you on the spotlight, but thank you. And you too, Chris.
I now I have to words. And Mick knows this, but I want to say it. Mick is somebody that I've looked up to in his said kind words and spent time with me and talked to me before about how, why, and just everything about podcasting. It's been a lot to me. So thank you, Mick. If I'm anywhere at all, it is partially due, probably in large part, to your help, your advice, and your mentorship, my friend.
Well, my pleasure. I'm always willing to help people who need help and want to learn. Like that's the biggest thing. Like if you don't want to learn, nobody can help you. So that's the most important thing. Is I remember, I don't think it was BlizzCon this year. I think it was the year before, and I remember walking into the Convert to Raid guild thing party, and I remember looking over, and there's Chris like sweating and interviewing people and running that stream for the guild. And I was like, look at that guy go. Look at him. Like, for people who can't be here, like he's bringing them the experience. And that's like, and I know because that was something that Pat and Jules had talked about. Like, oh, I would love to be able to get like a stream and to make this happen. And I'm like, look, Chris is helping to make that happen for people. He's doing it and he's putting in the work. And I remember thinking to myself, like, good for him. That's awesome. Like that's how it starts, and I think that is something I would say to anybody who, wants to just keep investing in the community, keep putting yourself out there. Don't be on an island, ask for help, reach out, and people will give you advice. That's the best thing about the internet content community, is that people are actually accessible and willing to give you good advice. I mean, someday people get to like Casey Neistat level and they're not going to return your random email that you send in. But, there's a lot of people in between that part that isn't. Like, I got good advice from Bob Claggett, and I might like to make stuff. And I remember Mark Spagnolo at the Wood Whisperer gave me some advice on something. I asked a question about a piece of equipment, and he clued me in on that. And there's been a lot of people that have gone that after. Well, Daniel Simpson, whose show I can't remember, who does a bunch of podcasts like teaching stuff. The podcast Answer Man, like Cliff Ravenscraft. Like Cliff gets a bad rap here and there for profiting off of teaching people about podcasting, but he's put out a lot of content, and Cliff answered some of my questions when I sent him an email once, a long time ago, about podcasting setup. So, and that podcasting setup is the one that I'm working on today. So like, just keep going, keep asking questions, keep staying humble, be gracious, be grateful to people, especially when they say thanks for your thing and I appreciate it. It makes my commute to work great. Like, don't blow them off. Like, stop, look them in the eye and say thank you, you know. And those things will make it better for everybody, you know.
Yes. Thank you for that, sir. This is going to bring us to a magical, a wonderful, a delicious moment of the show where I get down on my virtual knees and I beg and I plead for those all-important 5-star iTunes reviews. Guys, remember, if you would like to leave us 5 stars, if you really enjoy what's going on here at the Game Case, that is 5 stars for the Game Case show. And guys, if you don't like it, this is 2 stars for F you. I know how to do podcasting. What you doing in my podcast? I'm already great at the podcasting. I'm sitting up here. I'm on the hill. Listen to it. Download it. Buy the things. It's 2 stars for that show. It's a really long title. You probably won't remember it. So just leave 5 stars for the Game Case show. It'll be great. Mick, where can people find you and the content that you are still creating on the internet?
You can check out spazbotstudios.com. That's where most of the stuff that I do, you can get references and links to the things that I do. I do a podcast on a weekly basis when the show is running about The Walking Dead. So you can check that out at deadfanstalking.com. I have check out The Starting Zone at thestartingzone.com, World of Warcraft podcast I help produce. Super Heroic at superheroicshow.com. And then also, that's all the podcasts that I'm producing right now. You can follow me on Twitter over at Mick Montgomery, and you get all that stuff there as I make things happen, as well as the stuff that I'm working on at League or my fellow teammates have done. I would usually like to throw that up there and say, look at this, go to and watch it.
We do have, Chris and I have one more kind of big announcement to talk about. So Chris will be going to PAX this week, and then we'll have a couple shows in end of March. But in April, we are going to kind of take a different route for this podcast, guys. Something that is kind of near and dear to both Cuddles and I is talking about mental health and kind of gaming, depression, anxiety with streaming, anxiety when you're in game trying to find a raid. So we're going to take the month of April. I know mental health awareness isn't till October, but we just can't wait that long. So we're going to kind of do like a 6-month mental health awareness thing and talk about some of these tough topics. We're going to bring Stack up on, which Chris talks about all the time, and have them talk about the military, the gamers, the things that they see and they do. Dr. Andrew Bean, who has been on Torrent Think Tank, is actually going to come on and talk a little bit about his research and what he sees. And then we're going to do a few roundtable type podcasts where we talk to some people in the community or in streaming about how they deal with anxiety with streaming or how they deal with that social anxiety when it comes to gaming or depression in gaming, and do, I don't want to say more serious because we do talk about serious things, but definitely a different kind of take on what our normal podcasting is. So we're both kind of really excited to touch on these topics because I think we've both been affected by one or all or more of them at some point in time in gaming. And we know a lot of our community members are as well. So, I hope you kind of stick with us. We'll get back to the kind of fun, silly podcast in May, but we're both kind of excited and interested to see how this journey goes in April. So.
Woohoo! Yeah, it's something that we are actually really, really, like T said, really excited about. Try to, one of the things that I did when I first started the show is we did a couple of round tables. We touched on women in gaming. We touched on LGBT issues, and those are some of my favorite episodes. There's some of the episodes that I'm still getting comments on. So, with Mental Health Awareness Month being months and months away, we like T said, decided to kind of do this and make this happen. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy that. We still have more episodes coming in March. We will not be back next Sunday. I'm sorry. Well, nothing for you to put into your ear holes.
But you're going to PAX.
I will be at PAX East, so I'll have plenty of stories to tell when I get back. Guys, that is going to do it for this week. Mick, Turart, say bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Game Case Show. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. You can find Cuddles at The Game Case, Turarts at Turarts, and you can find the show at The Game Case Show. Join us live Sunday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/thegamecase. Archived episodes are available at youtube.com/thegamecase. The theme music for the show is Celtic Impulse by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com and is licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0.